It's imperative that the Arizona Cardinals finally fix their biggest weakness this offseason. We take a full evaluation of their defensive front seven, Johnny.
Plus, the Duff Man, Fran Duffy, joins the show. How high is too high for Cam Skattebo? Plus, we're driving a mock draft. How high will I take Cam Skattebo? PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's PHNX Cardinals podcast. It's days away from the 2025 NFL Combine, your number one Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe, leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable in Studio K. It's Mr. Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire. What a loaded Wednesday show we have for you. All presented by our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app today. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. We got the Duff Man, Fran Duffy. We got a mock draft. And we've got offensive line coach Justin Fry, Brock, chatting it up about the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, we got to talk to Justin Fry today in Tempe. It was nice to be back at the facilities there, hanging out with the reporters and getting some insight as far as who their new O-line guy is. And very impressed with Justin Fry. I think he nailed his introductory presser. I see Mac Daddy in the chat saying, it looks like I'm over the hump as far as my caffeine withdrawals. I'm actually going to push back and say, no, I was actually on the struggle bus just a few short hours ago.
Never been worse.
Yeah, I was down big, but I held strong because I need to hold strong for this community because we're holding this organization accountable, holding their feet to the flames, if I will, that they need to make a big splash move this offseason, and then I can go back to my comfortable caffeine drinking days.
I ate a rice cake earlier and I hated myself for it. So we will move on. Damon, how are the workouts going, my guy? I can't see you. Are you Swole City right now?
I was telling Bo, yeah, I'm a little tight. But I was telling Bo that it's been a real struggle being that I'm on like every program at PHNX Sports these days. And then I just want to lay in my bed at night and then I have to go to the gym at like 11:30 p.m. It's been tough recently, but you know what? I just love it that much.
Wow.
I'm just locked in.
What a humble brag.
Married to the grind.
I'm basically just, on every show, just playing a starring role, also doing my award-winning producing job. And
I don't know if I was framing it in that light.
What I heard. That's what I heard. I just heard somebody maybe needs to take a page out of Johnny Myself's book is the most humble podcast in Arizona.
You know what? No one's more humble than me at the end of the day. And that's how we're going to kick off this show. We need to put our biases aside. We need to put our humility aside. And we all need to collectively say, Monti Ossenfort, do better. The front seven is as bad maybe as it was 2 years ago. Somebody posed that question to me, Johnny, is the front seven worse than when Monti Ossenfort took over? And in a lot of ways, I think you could make that argument. Think about, before we deep dive into this group, Bo, think about like on paper who they had, right? Zach Allen was still like a Cardinal until free agency hit in February, right? Then you still had Zaven Collins, who people were high on. You had Isaiah Simmons, who people were high on. Like you had some rotational players, Gardeck. Like you could make an argument that at least from a talent perspective, they had more going for them. Because as we do a deep dive into this unit, I know most of the rest of the roster, secondary, offensive line, wide receiver, tight, everything's been upgraded.
Yeah.
But I look at this group and I'm like, have we had 2 off seasons to improve this? Have they had opportunities to upgrade this and have blatantly ignored it or taken the wrong approach? It is still by and large, one of the worst units in the NFL. Am I wrong?
Yeah, look, I get it. And sure, you can make your case for that. If you want to be a glass half empty type of person, sure, you can do that. You also have to look at all the facts as far as the circumstances that the defensive front seven, especially last year, was put into. Like, you have 2 top 50 picks that you drafted to really kind of boost your defensive front seven, and to start, you didn't have them for the first 10 weeks last season. You haven't had that duo, the 2 biggest investments you've had as far as that group goes, and BJ Ojulari and Darius Robinson, for the bulk of these 2 seasons. So, health has played a huge role as far as that goes, and it's not the only thing that's prohibiting that. I mean, obviously, we'll look at the additions that they made last offseason through free agency and how those were swings and misses as far as Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, where it was just like, we're going to hit a single here for the defensive line, and they basically foul tipped the catcher out. Yeah. Like, that was what happened. Like, it wasn't even. Yeah, it was like, they struck out 4 times. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't a good performance when you were just like, hey, let's get conservative. Let's just a little dingle single up the middle, and couldn't even get that. Couldn't even muster that. So it's been tough. And I think now, with the expectations on the rise, with the rest of the roster catching up, and then this being the huge glaring weakness of the organization, it's important that they really flood this group with their best efforts as far as adding talent.
I don't particularly love Warren Sharp. I think he's a little bit fraudulent, but he does run a website called Sharp Football that people take seriously. And it's funny, he listed his top front sevens in the NFL. And for the second consecutive year, the Cardinals dead last in that ranking for front sevens. And he actually backed it up, unlike Matt Bowen with ESPN yesterday. He backed it up with some numbers. And I didn't know the latter of this until you informed me of this, Bo. The Arizona Cardinals were voted the worst front seven, and unfortunately, they've repeated it in 2024. So he had people vote on this. Arizona had the second worst pressure rate, you don't say, in the NFL last season, and sacked the opposing quarterback just 33 times. We got to find the man responsible for this. We got to find the person that did this. But in all seriousness, who could have seen this coming? We didn't complain about this for June, July, and August last year. Oh, wait, we did. And I get it. Like, you were just giving indirectly the Monti Ossenfort approach. Hey, guys, we took 2 top 50 front seven defenders. What do you want from me? They got injured. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's like we talked about yesterday. Stop being overly reliant on your rookies. Don't put them in a position where they have to save units. Your gross negligence in free agency, like every team in the NFL, you draw names out of a hat, has a premier defensive lineman, edge rusher, D tackle, linebacker that they're paying big money to. Sometimes teams have multiple. The Cardinals are not paying a damn soul on their defensive line of note, big money contract. It's like quarterback you pay big money to, a tackle maybe, and a defensive lineman. And the Cardinals, they're one of the few teams in the NFL. There's no one to pay. There's no money to dish out. Yeah. And it's gross negligence on behalf of Monti Ossenfort.
Yeah, this is the fool me once, fool me twice scenario. And I don't know what the plan was, what would be viewed upon in 2020 hindsight is a lack of urgency to upgrade the pass rush group in free agency with such a impressive crop with Danielle Hunter, with Jonathan Gannon. And maybe they weren't even interested in taking the Cardinals calls because you had the trendy team in Houston. You had a pretty good, impressive organization in the Vikings on the other line to give them a really good free agent deals. But, injuries aside, there wasn't a real sign that they wanted to get there. Maybe they thought maybe the dominoes were going to fall a different way. But they get Darius Robinson and they couple him with BJ Ojulari, a guy who was injured his rookie year. And then, they like Zaven Collins, who they extended before the start of the season this past year. But like what that's yielded or minimal is what the NFL has is the most minimal results in back-to-back years. And if that needs to light a fire under the team builders behind to get some more talent in the door. It's just that those are just the facts. And it's like you can't turn to guys who, hey, analytics might tell us and the tape might tell us that this guy gets to fits the scheme correctly and can elevate our play there to an extent. You need to get like an undeniable pass rusher, a guy that's been productive to start in free agency, if not multiple, and then also attack in a draft where this is a talent-rich draft in the defensive front seven.
And I don't want to sit here and talk about like it's all about the money that you're paying these guys, because I think that is incorrect. I think that's foolish. Like we saw last year, the Rams were led by a rookie, right? So it can happen, Bo. But I also think like if you look at overthecap.com, I was doing my homework before the show today. In terms of just straight defensive tackles, the Cardinals are 29th. In terms of the highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL, Justin Jones, who, by the way, everybody in this fan base, including myself, wishes the team had a mulligan on. Then you can couple D tackles, edge rushers, and linebacker contracts together. I don't even think they're in the top 75, right? In terms of financial commitments for those positions, individual players, right? It's led by Nick Bosa and Chris Jones and Josh Allen and Brian Burns and Myles Garrett. But then it's like, Tremaine Edwards and Harold Landry. You just have to keep moving on and on. Cardinals are at the bottom of the list. So, again, we can be critical of Monti Ossenfort from a draft pick perspective, but those are lottery tickets. At the end of the day, like, you have to buy a front seven this offseason. You just do. Like, you have to get outside your comfort zone. You have to make this fan base believe that you're investing in a product on the field in 2025 that is going to help fuel you to a postseason berth. Because right now, say what you want about the rest of the roster, Kyler Murray has to play better at the end of the year. You can make an argument to all of us, those units are playoff worthy. Secondary, guys take a second-year jump, receiving core, running backs, QBs, done it before, offensive line. Sure, you want minor tweaks. All those other units you could say, like, those are playoff-worthy units. Then you've got the front seven, which couldn't be further from the truth. Well, there's one way to fix that definitively beginning in March, and it's opening up the checkbook. But I just go through the names of who's who in the NFL. The Cardinals are still well below average at that unit.
Well, let's just take a look. Let's take some inventory as far as the Cardinals' defensive front seven, and you can kind of put guys into certain categories where you've got cornerstones, as it's outlined here. Great graphic here, by the way, Damon, Dawg. You got Nick Rawls on it as well. Your cornerstones are Darius Robinson, who didn't get much production from because of obviously all the adversity and tragedy that he faced in his rookie season. And I think a lot of people believe, based on his performance in training camp and obviously playing in the SEC, that he's going to be able to perform in this league. And Mac Wilson, who was the best signing you made last season on the defensive side of the football. Those are the guys that you feel comfortable moving forward from. And then you start to look, quality depth, like Dante Stills in a second season as a 6th round pick. Solid. I think he you can find him. He would, if he wasn't with the Cardinals tomorrow, he would land probably with 3/4 of the league, if not most of the league.
He'd be on somebody's roster.
He would be on somebody's roster. And then you got Zaven Collins, who does, I want to say, like 3/4 of the things that they asked their outside linebackers to do, but he doesn't get after the quarterback. And then there's Xavier Thomas, where it's like, okay, I think he might even, just based on where he was picked, fifth round quality depth is fine for right now. But and then you get to need more guys. BJ Ojulari, you need him to stay healthy. And then, what Mike Wilson told us at the end of the season, he really believes that he's a double-digit sack guy. And then your 2 free agent additions in Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. And then the bubble guys who are just, day 3 draft picks, Owen Papo and Jesse Luketa, who are guys that, if they develop and they see significant snaps on the defensive side of the football, I think that your ceiling is quality depth.
Yeah, I look at this list and it's just not good enough. It's just not. It's a failure on all fronts. It's a front seven failure. And again, you can remedy it pretty quick. But for those out there that are like, Josh Sweat's not going to he's going to get the money, he's not worth it. And I'm not sold on Milton Williams. He pays 60% of the snaps. Okay, then look at that list and tell me if you're making the playoffs with that group of players. Even if you tell me Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols play next year and Bijo Ojulari is healthy again, I still don't think that's a winning unit. I think it's better to some degree, and I think you're going to get much better play from the top end because Darius Robinson hopefully is going to be healthy, but that still is a unit that at best on paper is probably between 20 and 25 in the NFL. Like, think about it. You are going from the worst in the league, worse than Carolina, worse than the Raiders, right? Worse than certainly the Browns and the Titans. Some of these bad teams at least have quality defensive linemen, Jeffrey Simmons, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. Like, you don't have anybody like that. So again, to scoff at the notion that the Cardinals are like, hey, we got to overpay for a guy that 8 sacks, but he dominated the Super Bowl, like, so be it. It's not the first thing I would do. But I also, again, hindsight's 2020. You and I talked about this ad nauseum last year. We would not have put the Cardinals in this position. We would not have taken 4 cornerbacks in the top 100 the past 2 years. We would have supplemented it more. I mean, Bijo Ojulari, who was already injured as a rookie, right, had an offseason surgery, fair or not by Monti Ossenfort, was asked to come in and save the pass rush group as a singular entity. Like, we all know what Zaven Collins is and isn't. But we sat here doing shows in the spring, and you and I said the same thing. If Ojulari goes down, they are screwed. And guess what happened? He got hurt, and they had nothing to show for it, right? That was avoidable. That was 100% avoidable. You know, it's unfortunate what happened with Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, and Darius' situation was tragic. I don't put that so much on Ossenfort, but guys bringing juice off the edge, Ossenfort has blown that for 2 off seasons. It has to stop. We ought to be sitting here in less than 3 weeks' time celebrating a significant move off the edge. If not, Ossenfort, you're asking to be fired. It's a fireable offense.
You make the same mistake 3 times. I mean, it usually gets you fired in this league. And you know, it didn't necessarily get the previous GM fired over a decade's worth holding that same seat. But I think, you know, like that situation's lessons learned, right? Hard lessons are learned. And I think two seasons worth of data that has that group at the bottom of the league, at the absolute bottom of the league. You know, you have to give it your best efforts as far as in really kind of tapping into throwing the kitchen sink at it, like from like what we've been discussing as far as big, you know, high ticket trades, or really just kind of wearing out your cap space and your draft capital on really kind of throwing everything you can at it. Because what Philadelphia proved to you in the final Sunday of the season is you can't have enough of them. Like you can rotate those guys in and out of it. And like, sure, you don't have one cornerstone, you know, big name pass rusher, but if you got a collection of guys that do their job and generate pressure, you can take down, you know, the best quarterback in the world right now.
I just feel like I like a lot of what Ossenfort does. And I think he's got a lot of strengths as a general manager. The people who are saying, well, the defense overachieved next year, this isn't that big of a priority. Go ask Jonathan Gannon or Nick Rollis behind closed doors if they would prefer to upgrade on their defensive line. I think it's just asking too much that group. Like you cannot in good conscience ask them to go to war with that group again and add in, you know, even if it's the 16th overall pick, you need to put them in a position where it's like, hey, maybe let's lean into the strength of our flipping team, where we have an elite defensive coordinator in the making, and we've got a head coach that had 70 sacks a couple of years ago as the DC in Philadelphia. Maybe that's the secret sauce for this team getting back to the postseason. And instead of shying away from it, let's lean into it. That's a novel concept. Equipping them with guys that, you know, can rush the passer and stop the run and disrupt the Staffords and the Geno Smiths of the world. Instead of just saying, you know what, they've got that side taken care of. They can't rush the passer for you. Nick Rollis squeezed every bit of this orange last year. It's not fair to ask him to do it again.
Yeah, I think what he's been able to do as a defensive coordinator, the defensive brain trust has been able to do with the talent that they're working with is really impressive. Like you were showing me something today, sent me from The Athletic, you know, the top 50 NFL, I guess, entities under 40. And you got Nick Rollis on that list, and rightfully so. What he's been able to do, how, especially like I think in the middle of the season this year, he was able to generate pressure. Remember, like we went through the first quarter of the season, and we turned these mics on and these cameras on every day, and you were screaming. You're like, where's the pressure going to come from? Like going into week 7, that game against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, like how are they going to generate enough pressure to get it stops, get off the field? And then, Rallis got creative. He got exotic with his blitz pressures. He started taking Buda Baker off the edge. He started blitzing Mac Wilson and Kazir White from the linebacking position. And interior wise, they were getting more pressure from no-name guys like Naquan Jones. And really credit to Rallis for being able to do it during that stretch, the most successful stretch of the season. And then, but there's a ceiling to that, right? It runs out because of this, how physical this league is, where if you don't have like proven commodities, guys that have done it for the stretch of 17 weeks in a year, you're going to run out of gas, and it's going to be tough when you need a big stop in Charlotte going up against the Carolina Panthers, and you can't get it.
Think about the Arizona Cardinals were 15th in points per game allowed. They were 15th ahead of teams like, the Niners and the Titans and the Cowboys and the Commanders that went to the playoffs, the Jets, right? Even though they fired Robert Saleh. They were 15th in points per game allowed, Bo, and they couldn't do two things. They couldn't take the ball away because they couldn't get pressure, because they were the worst pressuring team in the NFL, and they were still 15 points per game.
Yeah.
With the schedule, the gauntlet, the murderous row of a schedule that they had. I mean, if I'm Nick Rallis, I'm putting that in front of my GM and saying, I'm never going to be a head coach in the NFL until I can be able to supplement my defense and play it the way I want to run. Because I'm going to tell you right now, he does not want to blitz. They want to run a version of what you saw Philadelphia did in the Super Bowl. Of course, every team does, where you're winning with 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times did we scream blitz, do something? And he's like, nope, I have to save that for the fourth quarter because I know I don't have anybody to close games out for me. And I don't know if that's Josh Sweat or not. Like that could be a bust of a free agent signing, but you have to try. The last 2 off seasons, it's felt like they have mailed it in. They have not tried. And that's what pisses fans off.
Yeah. I think I saw a contract projection for Sweat. He would get over $80 million in total money. But
you made this bet.
You have backed yourself into that corner, and trying to get cute or outsmart the room. Like, I don't know if you have that luxury anymore. Like that's why Johnny's throwing hands anytime we mention the name Malcolm Kuntz. Like he will swing at me if I mention that. Look at him. He's disgusted.
He had last year. Like, I saw somebody in the chat saying I'd like Kuntz and Reddick over Sweat. I'm like, I would do that. You want to sign both those guys? No problem. Do you want to sign Malcolm Kuntz to be your marquee addition while also rehabbing B.J. Ojulari? Let's just get the all rehab team. Like, I'm not knocking guys because they're hurt, but that can't be a plan. That can't be. I can't take you seriously when guys aren't ready to go out there for OTAs. You want to have them as like a sweetener? Like, B.J. Ojulari to me is a sweetener. He's a second tier option right now, based on how last year and the year before went. If he surprises us, awesome. Sounds great. I'm glad he's fulfilled his draft status. You can't count on him. They have 0 starting outside linebacker pass rushers on the team. 0. 0.000. 0 plus 0 equals 0. That's what they have.
And math is unfortunately mathing for me. But and that's why we made our case, and I think we went pretty deep into it for Josh Sweat. And for those who kind of get scared off by his sticker price, you need to be able to just to absorb it. You just got to be able to take it. You got to make a big boy purchase. It's like, it's nice not having a car payment, but sometimes it's necessary. It's very necessary.
You want safety, you want convenience, you want job security. Quit pinching pennies. Cut this garbage.
What Warren Sharp outlined was last in 23 and last in 24, 2 consecutive seasons. So the good news is usually it's just like, can't get any worse. But they got to
I have so much respect for Gannon and Ross as defensive guys. Hey, this is why I look at quit screwing around. Cut it out. It's like when your dad looks at you across the room and you're doing something you're not supposed to at dinner. Hey, cut that out. Quit screwing around, Monti Ossenfort. Get serious. Cut it out. And then it's like,
knock it off.
Hey, knock it off. You knock it off with that pass rush right now.
Let's get serious.
I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to tell you again with that pass rush.
Malcolm
We got
Cooch,
Fran.
Are you kidding me? You kidding me?
Don't you? You run it back. You see what happens. You run that pass rush back one more time. Drop a like on this video. Fran Duffy is going to tell us what the Cardinals can do to fix their pass rush at least come April. And I'm going to get his assessment on Milton Williams and Josh Sweat and more, plus Skattebo. Coming up, PHNX Cardinals.
Oh, man. The dad and Johnny came out. Cornbread hemp. I got to talk to you about cornbread hemp. America's first ever USDA organic CBD company. Check out cornbread hemp. It's their mission to improve the quality of life with the highest quality hemp. Like that. That's very admirable. Love what's going on with them. Healthier way to relieve aches, pains while getting a better night's sleep. You can do that. Cornbread Hemp's USDA organic CBD gummies. Check out everything they have to offer. That USDA CBD gummy. They've got the gummies, highest quality, full spectrum gummies on the market. Help stress relief, better recovery, improve sleep. Those who are maybe trying to abstain from sweet treats, maybe they should try them. Check out the full spectrum USDA certified organic, made from flower only, third-party lab tested for potency and contaminants, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, no artificial flavors and preservatives. Cornbread Hemp offers free shipping and backs all products with their 30-day better life guarantee. Check this out. If you want to try Cornbread Hemp, they're offering PHNX listeners 30% off their first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use the promo code PHNX for that 30% off at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX, code PHNX, 30% off your first order. That's the good life with Cornbread Hemp.
Big fan of Cornbread Hemp. Big fan of our friends at Sanderson Ford. Cardinals need to get serious about their pass rush game. I need to get serious about my truck game. PHNX is proud to have Sanderson Ford as our official vehicle partner. And in celebration of Arizona being the 48th state of the union and Ford trucks being number one for 48 straight years, Sanderson Ford is celebrating this past week with the President's Day sale on 848 new vehicles, many saving $4,800 or more. Right now, here's where we can hook you up. Save $4,800 on Bronco Sports Badlands. Sounds badass. Save $10,000 off of F-150 STX and XLT trucks, and save $10,000 off a full-size Bronco Badland. Shop with no hassle, no pressure, no nonsense, and see why Sanderson Ford, Bo and Damon is America's most awarded Ford dealership. For complete customer satisfaction, don't miss Sanderson Ford Presidential Sale. Offers on 2024 models include Ford rebates, Sanderson discounts, and Conquest cash and Flex Buy discounts. You must qualify. See Sanderson dealer for details. All offers expire upcoming in about 2 weeks' time on March 3rd.
Love our guys over at Sanderson Ford. Of course, got to get in there. Now we switch over from Sanderson Ford to franchise mode with our guy from PHLY and the our All-City draft analyst expert, Fran Duffy, joins the show before the combine, just days away before we all in the NFL world descends upon Indianapolis. Fran, how we doing, man? I mean, I was looking at the draft guide. It's even getting deeper than before, which I thought was impossible.
Yeah, a lot of names in there now. Still just turning through as many of these reports as possible, guys. And so also while trying to load up on sleep, because we know that does not happen when we get out to Indy as well. So trying to juggle a little bit of everything in the build up to the combine.
We're excited about next week, mainly because I feel like this class really leans in, Fran, to the Cardinals' area of need. Like last year, we were talking about it, like star-studded class. Receivers, quarterbacks, right? We didn't have a defensive player drafted until 16th. Now, I might be naive, and we haven't really fallen in love with one singular prospect yet, certainly not to the level of Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. It feels like the Cardinals are going to have infinite options at pick 16. It feels like between about 3 to 4 defensive linemen, maybe an offensive tackle, it's a good year to pick in the middle of the first round.
Yeah, and as we talked about, I think if the Cardinals were picking, 12th, if they were picking 9th, I'd be I don't know if they're going to be able to get their bang for their buck there. Are you going to be able to get that quality of player that you typically would get drafting in that slot, but I think, sitting right in the middle of the round, I think that's where the talent levels off. I think that's where the depth picks up. You mentioned those areas of need, Johnny. I think when you look at offensive tackle, you look at pass rusher off the edge, you look at the interior lineman, that's where the depth really starts to pick up in the first round of this draft. But the other thing too is when you look at the front seven, if they decided they're going to go, let's say, offensive tackle early on, they're going to get another crack at the apple when they get to round 2. You get to round 3. As you start going through these exercises, you see that the depth at those positions in this draft. It certainly will make for interesting discussions with Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort, Nick Rallis, and that entire crew as they go through the rest of March and then into April.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like if you go through mock drafts, you start to see runs on positions, and whether it's defensive tackle, it's a deep class, right? You could make a case that maybe DT2, DT3, DT4 could be close to the top of the top DT player from last year. I know Byron Murphy was pretty impressive, but make the case for it. But when you start to see it in like certain positions get deep down the depth chart, and then you start to look at other positions that where could the Cardinals really kind of start to tap into the best players at their respective position at 16? Like I'm talking like if only one tackle goes, but 2 DTs go, like how are you kind of making that? What's the decision-making process look like there?
Yeah, I think that you'll run through a lot of those scenarios leading into the draft, and it usually will happen in like early April. And you have your key stakeholders they'll be in the room, and we talk through. Okay, let's say it's Walter Nolan. Would you rather have Walter Nolan and Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson, and that's the combo you go with round 1, round 2, or do we want this to be, I'm just throwing names out, but is it Armand Membu, the tackle from Missouri, and then Darius Alexander, the defensive tackle from Toledo? The other big thing, and I think that this is really important, when we talk about like the depth at certain positions in these classes. While there is a lot of depth, we have to remember that it's not one size fits all with all these players, right? So, that is one of the beauties of the Cardinals being as multiple as they are with the way that they utilize their fronts, is that does give them, more of a, more pathways to find players, right? Where, if you were just a straight like one gap 4-3 undersized 3 technique. All right, well, there's only a certain amount of guys that fit that description, right? But I think when you look at Jonathan Gannon, the way they utilize their fronts, the multiplicity there, I think that does give them several pathways to find the player they want on the interior.
It's too early on February 19th to sit here and talk about Fran best available player, to fall to them. Like dream scenario, like last year, the Seahawks were gifted Byron Murphy. Vikings got Dallas Turner. Remember, they were celebrating. We got the best defensive player at 17. Right. Sans like Abdul Carter and probably Mason Graham. Like, what's the best case scenario of a player falling to pick 16 for Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon? Like, realistically speaking, that could happen. Any position.
I'm going through. I'm looking through my list real quick. And I like right away, I'm like ruling stuff out, right? Like you're not talking tight end there with Trey McBride. You're probably not talking receiver again, right?
Is it TMac? Let me ask you, is TMac,
who
most people assume is a top 10 player? If you fell to 16, would they have to consider it?
I think he'd probably consider it. I think he is their type of guy. I mean, you guys tell me, like, what would that look like, within Drew Petzing's offense? And you have when you have McBride, then you have Harrison, you add TMac into that mix, like, and knowing that they want to be able to run the football, is that too many mouths to feed? Knowing the issues that you have on defense.
I think TMac takes over maybe Z, and Marv stays at X, and then Michael Wilson becomes kind of your 3-position wide receiver.
Right.
I just think back, Fran, like when they took Isaiah Simmons, egregious pick. I hated it at the time. 8th overall. And like CeeDee Lamb was a darling of our fan base, but everybody said, well, it doesn't make sense because you got DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk. And I get it. They were picking top 10, but sometimes, especially at 16, it feels like the best player is the best player. And if you're a team like the Arizona Cardinals who struggle to throw the ball downfield, and we expect a big jump from Marv, I don't think you can completely dismiss it.
Let me ask you this one, because these were two players that I thought about mocking to Arizona when I was doing my mock draft, when I was going through my exercise, because I think both would really fit the scheme. But we know, like, they've plugged a bunch of young players into that secondary, and they have found success. You have one of the highest paid safeties in football with Budda Baker. Jalen Thompson's a good player. If you had Malachi Starks and Nick Emanwari from South Carolina, Malachi Starks from Georgia, two blue chip safeties in my mind, like two guys that I think that you're looking at, like this is basically as good as it gets at the safety position. When you're looking at the grades that I've got on those two guys, is that too much? Is that like, I don't know where I'm going to be able to fit that guy in? How would you view that selection for if that was the best player available?
I don't think it's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
you got Budda. There's a good chance they do part ways with JT Jalen Thompson, but then there's somebody that they took in the 4th round last year, and Robert Taylor Demerson out of Texas Tech, that they really like. It's just a numbers crunch that I don't think that they have the luxury of taking that, with especially all the needs they have on the front 7.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, though. It's like the same thing as I was like looking at the offense, and I'm like, man, it just feels like this has to be a line of scrimmage pick. I just feel like when you look at whether it's offensive line, defensive line, we joke about this with the Eagles. It's like, all right, like it's not best player available, it's best lineman available. I feel like that might be the answer here for JG and for Ossenfort.
Who is your quintessential best tackle in this class? Because I see, Calvin Banks Jr. atop some rankings, Will Campbell atop some rankings, the kid out of Oregon people like. And then, of course, the left tackle that was hurt at the end of the year, Simmons out of Ohio State. Like, it doesn't feel like there is a Joe Alt in this class, and maybe more so the year Paris went to the Cardinals at 6 is kind of like a group of about 3 or 4 guys that teams like. But how do you rate the tackle class?
Yeah, for me, I would say that Will Campbell sits at the top of that list for me now. The left tackle from LSU, 3-year starter, 2-year captain, came in from day one in the spring and was the true freshman, like right out of high school starter in the SEC. I love that. What will be big, and we're going to hear about it, honestly, I say 8 days from now, as of this recording, we're recording this on Wednesday night, when the measurements come out on the offensive lineman and we have a confirmed arm length on Will Campbell. My understanding is that it's going to be sub 33 inch. And wow. That's going to be, that's the benchmark that a lot of people look at is 33 inches for the tackle spot. And so then it's going to be, all right, does he need to slide into guard? To me, when you look at maybe pure tackle, like I love Armand Membou from Missouri. I think when you look at his total body of work, now the thing is he's 33 and an eighth. You know what I mean? We're talking like minuscule difference there between what I think Will Campbell's will be and what I think Membou's will be. But Membou, freak athlete, never saw him overrun by power. He's strong. He's got pop on contact in the run game. He's a top 15, top 12 player for me right now. I think when you look at Membou, he's a guy that I could see potentially, if he gets past San Francisco, that's one of my favorite fits in the top 15 is Membou going to that Shanahan run scheme. But I think when you look at Membou, if he were to slide past that, I kind of like that for Arizona as well. That would be a player that I could, because he's got the ability to play either left or right. He's played mostly right, but he's got that ability to play on the other side as well. He would be a player that I would kind of shoehorn in as maybe he would be the best available tackle.
As this fan base like kind of is gearing itself up, for a defensive player with Jonah Williams and him going down late in the season and them being able to kind of set and forget their tackles with Paris Johnson Jr. Going forward at left tackle and then right tackle accounted for, that's pretty exciting to think about, just having those premium positions set up just like Philly had for so long at that spot. When you look at next week and you start to preview it, and I'm looking at your draft guide right now, this edge group, we just spent about 30 minutes on it, and so impressive. Jalen Walker, you've got Abdul Carter, who obviously is the consensus top guy, but do you anticipate guys kind of separating themselves next week with their workouts, with their 40s, with everything they're going to put on display?
1,000%. And that's one of my favorite parts of the combine is when you start to get those tiers together and you get those guys all bunched up. The combine is a great way to create some separation. And it's not, so for me, it's not just the athletic testing, but being down there and being able to get eyes on those guys go back to back, apples to apples, the same exact drills, and you laugh about like the underwear Olympics, but honestly, like being able to see those guys like you can't hide, right? You can't hide your physical limitations in that situation. And so, being able to see, Nick Scorton, the pass rusher from Texas A&M, a big 280-pound end, probably played a little bit bigger than he should have, put on some weight after leading the Big Ten in sacks at Purdue a couple years ago, goes down to A&M, doesn't have as productive of a season. What does he look like up close? Under the spotlight here. How does he move? You compare that to like Landon Jackson, another player that didn't have like super production, but to me, like both of these guys, they look and feel to me like Jonathan Gannon type of players, right? And so when I look at those two, and I'm like, okay, let's see how they look. Not back to back just because of how they are in the pecking order, but being able to compare those two together. JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. I'm a little bit higher on him, I think, than most in the media. He's another guy I feel like is exactly the type of player that JG would fall for, right? And I think when you look at those type of players, being able to compare apples to apples with them, not just from a testing standpoint, although the testing is important, but also just how they go through the workout, I think that is very, very important and one of the most important parts of next week.
All right, let's get serious. Let's get down to brass tacks, Fran. Let's talk a little Cam Skattebo. We were speculating earlier today, Bo and I, what the ASU product would need to run in the 40 time to really solidify his place as like a top 50 guy. And Bo and I have a disagreement. I actually think Skattebo has more to lose next week than gain because I don't want to use like the term exposed, but like if Cam Skattebo runs like a 4.7 40, we're all going to be like, college ceiling's been hit. This is a day 3 guy. Give me your overall kind of hierarchy as it relates to like, what does Cam need to do next week to just keep his firm spot as a day 2 pick?
Yeah, and it goes back to what I just said. Like you can't hide, in that scenario, right? And I think that even if he were to not run, unless it's injury related, which like he was banged up towards the end of the year, he was dealing with a lot. Carried the Sun Devils on his back in a lot of ways last year. That would tell you all you need to know. Now,
if he doesn't run,
right? But here's the thing: I think a lot of people understand the fact too that running back testing is not predictive whatsoever. Like if you look at, like every year it feels like there's a running back that goes to Indianapolis and, he jumps like 17 inches in the vert and we all like go crazy. I remember like Dalvin Cook, you could like hear the collective when he jumped, 22 inches or whatever it was in the vert. And I remember Leonard Fournette, in the broad jump and he did his 3 cone and everyone's saying like, oh no, like, is he going to fall now? And he still ends up going 4 overall. Right. I think we all kind of understand that running back testing can be a little bit wonky. I think the big thing is like, all right, like come in, show you're healthy, have a good workout. We know how versatile he is, how well he catches the football. I think if he goes and has a good workout, I think that will quell most concerns. I do think, and look, we talked about it. I think when you watch, when I watch Cam Skattebo on film, I can see like, oh yeah, like this guy was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school, right? Like this guy was a late bloomer. He's not this dynamic athlete, like make you miss guy. He is a little bit unassuming, like from a frame standpoint. 5'11", 215 is solid size, but that's not like a, the when you think of like the big bruising backs of yesteryear, like comparing him to, guys that have gone, like Peyton Hillis and, Brian Leonard and like guys like that, like, he's a different body type than those players. Yeah. And he's not, I don't think he's going to test to that level. Right. And so I think that at the end of the day, for me, like the combine's all about expectations. I don't have these high expectations in terms of what Skattebo is going to look like. So I'm just hoping he goes and has a good workout from a positional standpoint. And you could just kind of check the box and keep moving.
Well, with all that being said, where is it imperative or where do you feel like he can boost his draft stock in testing well?
Look, if that's the thing is that, like, to me, I don't think you panic if he has a bad workout. I think it's to the moon if he has a big workout, right? Like if he jumps, I've got these numbers handy. So like, let's say he jumps over like 123 in the broad. So 121 is the average for running backs over the last 10 years for drafted running backs. So just over 10 foot in the broad jump. 125 inches is 80th percentile. So if he can get north of 125 and then in the vert go in the high 30s, now like we're cooking at 215, 220, right? And so if he's able to do that, I think that would show off that explosive power that he's got. And I think that's something that you want to be able to see if he goes and he runs low 4.5s. I think that's check the box and keep rolling. You guys tell me. Like I don't know that I see low 4.5 when I watch him on film. But if he did that, I think that would get a lot of people excited. And then look, honestly, like I don't think anyone would blame him if he doesn't do the shuttles. The running back position, especially, they have not done a lot of the shuttles. I think it's more like a scheduling thing. There was the one year, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, where every single running back said, "Yeah, I'm not doing the shuttle. It's 11:30 at night. I've been up since 6 a.m. We're not doing this." So it was a collective decision there. They have since changed the schedule a little bit, but a lot of them still haven't gone back. I mean, last year you were in the single digits with how many of those guys did the shuttle, and so I think for Skattebo, the big thing is like the guys that show off that explosive power. That's the 10-yard split. And that's the jumps. If he's able to hit in the 70th, 80th percentile on those marks, that would be a good day for him.
Get you out of here on this, Fran. Quarterbacks, I don't expect anything from the top two guys, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. You could have different insight. I just don't feel like they're going to feel like there's anything to gain from next week. These second-tier quarterbacks, though, like who has the most to gain from this tier 2 group that could go, as high as the fringe first rounder all the way to the end of day 2?
Yeah, I think that, for me, it's going to be the cast of characters we talked about down in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. And I think you're talking Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, and Tyler Shuck from Louisville. I think that's that next tier of quarterback. You want to throw in Quinn Ewers from Texas. You can absolutely throw him in that group as well. Those are the guys that have the most to gain. I'll be honest. I would expect Cam Ward and I would expect Shedeur Sanders to go through, maybe not the athletic testing, but I would expect them to throw. I think, for both of these guys, I think that you want to be able to go. And what's going to be great about it too, if you give me a second, a bunch of these guys, just because they go alphabetical order with how they throw, a bunch of the heavy hitters are like back to back to back to back. And it's going to be, to me, like that is catnip for scouts. It'll be a great opportunity for everybody to kind of see those guys be able to go, in that spot. Now, again, you're talking like Sanders, Shuck, Milrose towards the back there, Ward's towards the back there. Like they're all right in that area. So that will be really big for those guys.
That'll be huge. What's huge is your draft guide. It's getting bigger and bigger by the day. Of course, go phnx.com/draft guide. You need to be a diehard in order to access it. But man, it is worth its weight in gold because our guy Fran Duffy has putting in all the hard work on it in some in-depth, thorough analysis about all these draft prospects. Yeah, we're going to get to see them all throw in a pretty similar spot. This is going to be like Jackson Dart, and then you got to wait a while, and then you'll see that run on quarterbacks throwing. Can't wait to catch up with you in Indy, but as always, tremendous insight. Make sure you're following Fran on Twitter at FDuffyNFL. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you in a few days.
All right. Sounds good.
More coming up on PHNX Cardinals, including, are we going to do a full mock draft? Wait and see. That's up next. Level up with Fran Duffy. Level up with our friends at Waymo. Again, can't wait to utilize Waymo en route to Indy as I make my way to the airport. And I'm jealous. Bo got to experience Waymo en route to the Super Bowl, but now it's Johnny's time to shine. And again, they're taking care of you if you're going to the airport. They're taking care of you
for everybody, okay, in this town.
Also me. Spring training. They got local sporting events. Again, check them out. Fully autonomous ride hailing service. Consists entirely of all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for their riders. And again, it's like, how often do they do this? I don't know, 150,000 trips per week, San Fran, LA, and here in Phoenix. Waymo, the first company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human being behind the wheel. I'm ready to do this, kick my feet up. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to grind with our friends at Waymo. Has over 440 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough, Bo and Damon, to drive to the moon and back 80 times. Download the Waymo app today. Ride, baby.
Download, request, ride. Love it. Waymo, little territorial when it comes to Waymo. Very protective. I love my Waymo. In my Waymo one, I want to delete it from your phone so you can't enjoy it like I do, like Damon and I do. One thing I think we should all enjoy is some Spinato's pizza. Love Spinato's Pizzeria, and it's the place to go for Phoenix Suns fans. Look, there aren't a whole lot of places these days that are safe for Suns fans, especially the arena downtown. Why not go to Spinato's, where if you got a little tear and it's going into your beer, it's also going to maybe get onto your delicious pizza pie from Spinato's. I love the spicy Italian. My son, he gets the kids' pizza there. The Kevin McAllister just cheese special. Spinato's does it better than anyone. And they've got, of course, Suns watch parties going on with dancers and the gorilla. Also, they've got their own game of horse, but they don't spell horse. They spell pizza, Pizza. You can win free pizza for your tickets to a Suns game on April 9th. And what's better than free tickets and free pizza? Feel the energy, cheer for your team, win big, don't miss on a chance to be a part of the action. Mark your calendars, Suns fans. The excitement starts at Spinato's. Get all the info and watch parties for the pizza basketball contest at SpinatosPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
Before we get into our mock draft, Damon, TMac to the Cardinals, would that do anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, that'd fire me up. I would love it. Obviously, I'm riding for my guys all the time, and it's not, maybe the Cardinals don't need a 6'4" receiver. That's not exactly on the top of the offseason priority list, but there is something to be said about, like, sometimes you just can't pass on somebody when they're too good, and he's better than the 16th overall pick. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't doubt that. I really don't doubt that, but it's Rome Odunze 2.0 right there. Like, really super talented wide receiver, but the needs are glaring. What the Bears needed to do last year, and then they took a pick that with Odunze that they probably shouldn't have.
I get it, but I also think there's something to be said. Like, what if they have TMac rated like a top 5 player in the class, and he fell to them for some reason?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins potential,
right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like for the Cardinals and where they're at, like, this is what good franchises do. They don't say no to any singular player if it's a franchise cornerstone. I want a front 7 player like everybody else. But what happens if the reality comes and T-Mac's there's a good chance all the good front 7 players are gone. So what are you going to do? Just like take the 8th best D tackle instead of T-Mac? I feel like good organizations keep their options open. They don't pigeonhole themselves. And that's why, again, it goes back to our original point of, like, T-Mac's not expected, shouldn't be expected to save the team next year. It's a draft pick. Develop them, right? Put them in positions to succeed. Like, it's going to be easy to say, like, hey, come here and save us, Mike Green. We need 20 sacks. We need you to be Jared Verse. It's like, that's not realistic. I don't know. This team has struggled so long with drafting because they've passed on great players because they haven't fit a need.
Yeah.
The best receiver in the draft.
No doubt about it. I mean, that's a fun little fever dream to have. The idea of Marv and T-Mac in the same receiving core, and then you got the complementary pieces like our guy Michael Wilson and a tight end like Trey McBride. And like if you were to rank it, I mean, as we're going through with Fran, like there's some pretty solid playmaking safeties. There's obviously non-premium positions that are going to be available. I would rank taking T-Mac if he were to slide over, taking the best safety off the board or taking, a running back and all that stuff. Like I'm not going to completely just throw it away, but I do think it is still a long shot, but it's fun to think about.
Well, I see people in the chat, like, just trade down. No one's trading up in this draft. Like, this is not the draft where people are going to be scratching and clawing to come up and get Will Anderson Jr. or a quarterback, right? Like, if it's a down year in terms of like top end guys and one falls to you, embrace it, right? Don't shy away from it. Don't do the Ossenfort thing where it's like, let me just get all the picks. We saw that. We saw this team last year get too conservative. They had 4 third-round picks, and then they didn't get an impact from anybody. So at the end of the day, it's like sometimes the best decision, this was our argument for Marv, the best decision is staring you right in the face. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be a firm top 10 pick. I think if he works out next week, he's going to look like the freak show that he is. I mean, we saw him. Damon, you chatted with him at Super Bowl week. I mean, he is physically built like Marv, like one of these guys. He reminds me a little bit of Mike Evans, just the way he's built. I mean, you can't say no to that. There's another example. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Super Bowl. It's not the answer that everybody wants, but sometimes it makes the most sense just to do what is the smart thing.
Speaking of Mike Evans, did you guys know that in Daniel Jeremiah's mock where TMac fell, that was the pick, the Bucks?
Oh,
The Bucks taking TMac and kind of handing the proverbial baton. That'd
Not
be
bad.
pretty interesting.
I mean, the Cardinals, to me, if TMac fell to the Cardinals and there wasn't like a slam dunk front seven player, I just think you just have to be open to that.
especially when you play the strategy of the draft and you could wait to get, the next tier of front seven players. I don't think there would be much hesitation. Like if it just depends on what the Cardinals think about TMac. If they think he's a top receiver, I don't think they would hesitate to take him if he's the best player on that board and just so happens to fall at 16.
I mean, the Eagles just won a Super Bowl. They have 2 first-round freak shows at receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you can sell me. I can get it's not my first choice, but I can definitely understand it.
Yeah.
Well, you understand our mock draft. Our mock draft.
We're going to do TMac 16th overall.
Are we doing every round?
Sure. Let's get crazy. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts. Keaton 89. Let's do it. PHNX Cardinals mock draft right around the corner. Can't believe you quoted Keaton Batman.
What? You're the only one that can do that?
Yes.
Look, I like to open up all good things to everyone. Like Colt Cannabis and True Leaf. They are collaborating and they are giving you the most premium flower that all of us are out seeking these days. And you can just find it under one roof. True Leaf. Check out True Leaf, one down the street from the studios here, downtown Phoenix, 7th Street, McDowell, but a different part of the valley, like maybe Maricopa. You got one that just opened last month on January 11th. Our friends at Cult Cannabis is now available in your local True Leaf with a huge variety of premium flower and True Leaf's exclusive Magic Marker strain. Valley's been asking for it, and now they shall receive from our friends at True Leaf and Cult Cannabis. Visit TrueLeaf.com, find a local shop near you, place an order, and tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you. Great flower, as I said, hard to find, but luckily Cult Cannabis has been dropping absolute fire here at PHNX Studios and your local True Leaf. Includes True Leaf's exclusive Magic Marker in that new True Leaf in Maricopa. Check it out if you're in the area. Get to TrueLeaf.com, though, to find your local shop closest to you for your utmost convenience and place an order and tell them that PHNX Cardinals sent you.
I'll tell you what, it's going to hit the hardest when I'm able to have sweets again. I can go to Circle K and just go to town on their original snacks and goodies. In the meantime, though, I'm just going to have to suck it up and save 3 cents per gallon every single day because I'm a member of the Inner Circle. Right now, you can be 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Download the app today. All you need is your phone number and your email, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. Speaking of good to go, you're on the go. It's the perfect place. Load up, stock up, plenty of other member-exclusive deals and discounts. I love yesterday. We didn't even have a Circle K read, and somebody in the chat's like, fam, I just downloaded the Inner Circle K app. It's low-key fire. And I'm like, we've been telling you. I feel like we've been telling people for years.
Yeah, listen.
Hello. Open up your eyes and ears to savings. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. I want to welcome everybody from our streaming partners. Perfect time to jump on over to GoPHNX.com as we unveil yet another mock draft on a mock draft Wednesday. Dirty Dogs. Damon, Bo, and Johnny. Are you buckled up? You feeling it?
Yeah, I am putting on some gloves to protect myself from all the dirtiness, the grossness, and but we're gonna really lock in for 7 rounds. The Arizona Cardinals, I believe, have 6 picks in those 7 rounds, and we're just gonna make mock draft magic.
How many of the 6 is Johnny taking here?
I mean, you know the answer to that.
Listen, I hate that every week at this time it's like Johnny's ruining the draft. So I'm doing my best. I can't promise anything, but I'm doing my best to ensure that everybody is happy. But I'm gonna tell everybody right now in the chat.
Why can't you promise something? Why can't you at least promise?
He just can't help himself sometimes.
It's hard to appease everybody. It's hard to appease myself and my co-host and my producer and the many thousands that watch at home. So I will always promise to be better. We're gonna do they have 6 picks, so we should just do 6 rounds. They have a
7th round pick.
They have I'm sorry, they have a 7th round pick. I don't even know my own team. All right, we're entering the draft here. And we're gonna go ahead. No, any interest in trading up? I feel like I ask that every week. No one's.
Well, it looks like they don't even have the 7th round pick. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, that needs to be updated. I think somebody tweeted that. We're missing picks here. All right, I guess we're only doing 5 rounds, friends. We've been stripped.
What's okay? A couple of things here. What's our philosophy if Jalen Walker is in the 2nd round? Like he's been.
I say we took him last time. We don't take him this time.
I'm comfortable with that, although we need to contact Trevor Sikkema to let him know that
we're going to bother him at the combine next week. Just like last year when we had a big kind of, hey, how come Jaden Daniels keeps on falling to the 20s? He's like, look, it's not my fault.
He had heard that so many times. He's like this, please stop talking to me.
The yearly Trevor Sikkema, hey, what about this guy?
Hey, your mock draft is wrong, and I was looking at it yesterday, and this person has a 2nd round grade.
Oh God, I'll talk to the engineers.
That's a great bit. Like we got to come with one guy every year for Trevor.
Well, we clearly have one this year. Jalen Walker could be a top 10 pick after next week. You never know. All right, ready to get this started, gents?
I'm ready, Johnny.
Start it up. Whoop, whoop. On the clock. Travis Hunter, shocking development. Abdul Carter. Okay, no surprises yet. There's T-Mac. Raiders go safety. Of course they do. Classic Raiders.
Has Shadur gone?
He has not.
Okay. Oh, he did go.
He did go. All right, recap. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Cam Moore, not the craziest. Mason Graham, McMillan, Malachi Starks, Shador to the Jets. Burden, Tyler Warren, Will Campbell, Jada Barron. I'm not super.
Are you prepared to, after talking to Fran, call baby T-Rex arms Will Campbell?
Man,
like you did Skoronski? Are you going to continue your tradition?
Skoronski's arms were like my size, though. I remember seeing him at the combine. I'm like, brother, are we the same? Are we the same guy? And he has been grossly underwhelming as a guard for the Titans. So I think that has tracked. Walter Nolan gone, Mike Green gone, Genty, Will Johnson. Welcome back to our typical cast of characters here. I think the first 3 players are the 3 that we're discussing, gentlemen. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. You're not incorrect by saying that. There was some rumblings on the Twitter streets today about James Pierce and some teams, because of character issues, alleged character issues, that teams are taking him off their draft boards. So something we'd have to deep dive, but I would have thought that James Pierce would be a great option for the Arizona Cardinals, if not the top option to rebuild their edge rush room.
I feel like there are many good options left. There are guys you could talk me into toward the bottom of the first round. I would like to explore a trade. You've got Tampa trying to call the Cardinals for pick 19 and pick 16. What's your comfort level with that? Because again, like Banks could be an option. Williams could be an option. Stewart could be an option. Harmon, like you want to try to squeeze Tampa Bay a little bit here?
I mean, it's only 3 picks, but it's like what we discussed at the top of the show as far as being aggressive in rebuilding your defensive front 7.
That's fair.
Like, why would you trade out of a pick that you probably like? I mean, I think you stick and pick and take Pierce here. I think that's the easy answer. But at the same time, you can get on the phone with Jason and you can talk. You can talk trade and see how far you can push it.
I think the only thing I'd be willing to do is if you get their second. I don't want scraps in the 3rd round. I'm just going to offer this straight up. It was accepted. So
one pick in.
We're not even a pick in, man.
Unbelievable.
Listen, sometimes you have to override the chat. That value is too good to give up. I'm sure James Pierce won't go before this next pick. I can't even see your reaction.
Resume the draft.
Listen, I secured a pick. I secured basically a top 50 pick, top 51 pick, trading down 3 spots. You're welcome, everybody. I don't want to hear anybody complaining. Okay. You could flip that for a veteran, do whatever you want. Damon, Bo, you guys pick the player at 19.
That's so generous
thanks.
of you.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
I actually, you know what? I think it's a good trade.
It is. It's a great trade.
It is a good trade. I would have taken James Pierce, but yeah, go ahead. Resume the draft.
Maybe he'll be there.
7 rounds. This is just the
And
start.
he's gone. He's gone. He's never been gone harder. He literally was the player that Tampa traded up for.
Yeah. That's tough, man. So now
Reunite
to look
this
at
man with his position coach, damn it.
Yeah, Josh Simmons. We talked to Justin Fry, and what his answer basically was, as far as players that were going to get drafted, if you were to script it, I would love to continue to work with these guys. So I think Josh Simmons included with that. Johnny, just the whole issue with taking Josh Simmons in a trade down to 19 is it does nothing for the first segment we had today when we opened up the show about fixing the front seven and aggressively doing that. So I say, take a look at Josh Simmons, but I think you also have to look at some of these other guys. I think it's too early here for Derek Harmon. Get out of the trades.
I got an idea. Can I just throw something at you guys? I'm not going to do it. Okay, Raiders are right here, coincidentally. What if we just did a little bit of this right here? What if we went down, we made a little phone call, and we got, where is
Are you talking about Max Crosby?
I am. We are now equipped with 2 2s, okay? So.
Can we just do a mock draft?
I thought we were getting gross today. I'm sorry. I thought we were getting gross.
We already are.
I feel like you're in a bad mood now. I feel like I feel like there's nothing I can do. You were so lockstep. I didn't think they were going to accept that trade. You want to mulligan? You want to start over?
No. Let's move forward.
Did you ask Justin Fry what he would do right here?
I mean, he said he'd love to continue to work with his guys, but understands sometimes that's not realistic.
I like Williams too. I'm fine with taking Williams. I think Williams is a more conventional edge than Jalen Walker. How people love Harmon. He looks like a clone of like Armstead, those guys that are mountains of men.
Yeah.
Stewart doesn't have enough production for me. I'm out on him. And Banks, I'm hit or miss on. Simmons, Harmon, or Williams.
It's either Simmons here or you wait later in the draft to address tackle. Let's take. Man. No, I don't know. I don't think you take Williams here.
You don't think he's good enough, huh? You like Harmon more? I mean,
Walter Nolan already went.
Look what he did against Ohio State in that bowl game or the playoff game. He dominated Ohio State both games.
I just read like a quick excerpt on him from NFL.com, and their NFC executive quote about him is he plays like a Raven or Steeler.
We don't need
That's
that.
interesting.
They have good front seven play.
I'm in on Harmon. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit.
I mean, Simmons or Harmon.
I vote Harmon in this scenario. I think we go Harmon. Is that all right with everybody?
Sure.
Harmon, very comparable to Kenneth Grant. Like we were just talking about it, 2 shows ago. It's like flip a coin. What's your preference? Oh, sorry, I got pick 51 after the fact.
The chat agrees with Harmon here as I'm looking at it.
I mean, now you're stacked, man. 47 and 51. I get not wanting to stockpile thirds again. Ossenfort was underwhelming last year, but now
at least admit the play though probably was to stick and pick and take James Pierce? No,
because now you can get JT and potentially Tyler Booker. Look how we're eating good now.
Okay,
or Skattebo.
Ooh, I want JT and Tyler Booker.
I do. I agree with that. I agree with that. It's gonna. So, thing is, you'd probably have to. Booker probably goes to Miami.
Okay, so let's call Miami. Okay, here's what we're doing. We're getting gross. No, I want it here. How do I trade this? I can't trade 51 until after we make this pick, but then I'm worried he's going to be gone.
You can't click on it?
No, it won't let me. Come on, Sikkim, I'll figure it out. Or maybe I do that. Maybe I do this. Never mind. I'm a moron. Okay, 51. We call the Dolphins 48, and then 113. that too rich?
Looks like they'll do it. Can you do 152 instead?
Oh, hell yeah, they'll do that.
Can you just throw in like, okay.
How about that right there? Who'd you want me to trade? I'm sorry. You wanted me to throw
say like a future day 3 pick and see if they were going to do it.
I mean, 150, that's scraps.
We just took Chris Greer for a ride. Okay, let's do it. Now I'm back. We're back, baby.
Sorry, this has a chance to be the best mock we've ever done because of your boy. You're welcome. Look at this. Look at the treasure trove of elite players. Maybe one of the best guards, one of the best defensive linemen, an edge rusher that you all love over my boy. Real quick, though, speaking of my boy, where'd Skattebo end up?
We just saved the franchise right now.
I think it's possible.
All right, so look at those back-to-back picks.
Dolphins.
Wow.
Welcome to the show.
Wow. That's special. That is special. All right, I'm going to throw a curveball at you guys. Quarterback here. What do you think? Not Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, definitely not Dylan Gabriel. 5'11" and baby hands.
I don't hate this right here. I don't hate
I
that.
think you could wait. Well, I guess we've only got 2 remaining picks after a wheeling and dealing.
What's our? We got 113. I mean, we could take Will Howard or Kyle McCord there too.
Yeah, let's hold.
Okay.
What's the tackle class look like? Could we continue to work on the front 7?
This kid from Purdue.
William and Mary, Johnny.
No,
I know that's a big pipeline for you personally.
You're gross, sir. Receivers, okay. Usual names that we see typically. I mean,
Isaiah Bond is interesting there.
He is. So is Tez Johnson, even though he's a little undersized.
I mean, look at yards per reception. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. What's his size, though? Is he undersized? He's all right.
It's 20.
You want to take an off-ball linebacker here? You've eaten your vegetables. I don't know. Dylan Gabriel. That's alarming. This would be yet another defensive lineman that you would assume that they would not have added one in free agency.
Right.
0 sacks in his career. Wow, great job, Jordan. No thanks. I play for Maryland. I have a career 0 sacks. I won't be drafting you, sir.
Big 10 defender, Johnny. Big 10 defender.
By default, that's like by default. I like Isaiah Bond here. I stick with the big schools, the winning programs this year. Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Texas. I don't have any issue with this.
Yeah, and then he used to play at Alabama too. That season before he was at Alabama, and his grade was even higher. So
you decide, Bo, since you're back.
Putting the pressure on me. So
as long as it's not Jordan Phillips, I don't need another Jordan Phillips bust in my life.
Man,
who are you deciding between, Bo?
Yeah, it's tough. I was thinking either tackle from Purdue or take one of the wide receivers, and it's just like, what's your favorite flavor of soda? Is it Dr. Pepper or is it Coke? Do you like Bond? Do you like Tez Johnson?
I don't mind. I mean, I don't mind this pick. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, he's a career right tackle. So you get a left guard of the future, and you get a right tackle of the future.
How do you perform against the big schools? Looks like he had a tough day against Penn State. Ooh, did not perform well against Indiana.
Might have been he did well against Ohio State and Oregon, though.
Purdue was pretty awful this year, wasn't it?
And Notre Dame.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I think he was pretty solid, all things considered.
This guy looks like he's a decent player.
I'm fine with that, Bo. You're making a commitment to your offensive line.
I want to take Bond. I think he's got big time playmaking ability. Didn't he open up the CFP with a touchdown against ASU? Was that Bond?
Yeah, punt return against ASU for a touchdown.
Jalen Milroe is off the board. He went to the Browns at 94. So Will Howard, best available player and quarterback, coincidentally. Again, I
like the Ole Miss interior defensive lineman here. Is Jackson Dart still available?
I'm not sure. We'd have to look.
I think he is, but I kind of, for the sake of this, would probably be like, hey, let's not take him.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think quarterback makes sense. Listen, I'm fine. Man, yeah, I'm with you, Bo. I think more defensive line help.
All right, let's wrap up our draft with this selection here.
It looked dark at one point, and my co-hosts were ready to quit the show, yet they didn't have enough trust in your boy, and this could very well be the best mock draft of the young season thus far. You get, in my opinion, 3 players that are all potentially first-round picks in a brilliant trade by me, Monti Ossenfort, and then a couple nice developmental players in JJ and Isaiah Bond. I mean, A-. I think that's very warranted.
Yeah, it's the Russian judge. Real tough as far as the draft grade goes here. So, yeah, I like it. I'd sign up for this, even though it was a little bit of a rocky start. I was stunned as I watched the draft unfold and Monty trade down while James Pierce Jr. is still on the board.
I love it.
Pick 51. I mean, we basically gave up James Pierce Jr. for Tyler Booker. I mean, that's what inevitably the trade is going to be remembered for.
And still got JT.
Yes.
I think that's a better haul.
It is.
James Pierce,
yeah.
I think he could be his ceiling, I think, is extremely high.
Yeah.
But I also think that he has a high bust rate.
Yeah.
He's the type of profile that could definitely blow up in your face a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Johnny's maverick in this situation, and I'm giving him credit. And I'm early in Top Gun, and I'm Iceman. And I'm saying you're dangerous with the moves you pulled out there, but they are also ended up being heroic.
Harmon and JT walk into the Cardinals shell of a defensive line group, and they're basically like, we're coming over to take over. Move out of the way. This is what real talent looks like. They're going to be doing this top to bottom. Get a good look. Get a good look. Darius, you're good. You can stay. Everybody else, take it in. This is what big boy defensive line looks like. You're welcome. I love it. That's why we do these mocks.
Free agent edition.
Hopefully you got JT looking across from Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick, ready to dap him up, ready to give him one of these.
I don't think we're doing that anymore. I think
the dab out.
Yeah, I think we left that in about 2018, 2019.
We're bringing it back.
Just this now?
Yeah, welcome to 2025. We're doing the boom.
Yeah, that draft 5 big booms, no doubt about it.
That's a good omen ahead of next week, I feel like. It's a very good omen. Let's jump in to these super chats here. We got a couple short stacked Goblin, $199. The whole draft should be spent on D-line and linebackers. Well, short stack Goblin, I got to assume you were pretty happy with what your boys just cooked up over the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, as to what we get 3 in our haul. Not bad. Not bad. Red Sea, $5 with the 16th overall pick. Johnny selects a Snickers bar.
Have you thought about like when the vice breaks, whenever that is, like what will be what you consume first? I've thought about that.
Yeah, I absolutely have. It's gonna be like it's gonna be an iced coffee of some sort.
Will you get like a blended frap? Will you go like hard?
No.
I think you need extra shots though, Bo.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Toss in 2 extra shots on that guy.
Yeah, and also some extra of the syrup.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
make it the biggest size you got.
I'll go withstand the lines at like Dutch Bros or something. You know what was dirty, like really nasty work was I was driving by and there was like some construction around my house and the closest Dutch to mine, like you know how the lines are always long. There's no line. It was almost like taunting me. Like I could have just driven right in, circled around, had somebody talk, like enter my personal space, but I would have taken it for that cup of coffee, you know, as Dutch always does.
Stick their head in your car.
Yeah.
I'll never forget one time many years ago, a Dutch Bros individual called me handsome and it made my day. And then I heard her call the same guy behind me handsome. And I wanted to take my tip back so bad and it was too late. Red Sea, $5. I vote for JV. Be forever banned from all candy aisles in any retail store.
Johnny, you didn't tell us what you were gonna eat when the vices are expired, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, like skillet cookie comes to mind. You know, I do love the Chili's molten lava cake. I love double fudge chocolate cakes. It's gonna be a combination of things. But I
I had a
love.
Pizookie the other night.
Unbelievable.
It might have even been on your birthday. I had a Pizookie.
I think that's my favorite dessert, Bo.
It's tough to you got the freshly cooked pizza cookie with the ice cream on top.
The
of
way
it.
that the vanilla ice cream pairs with the warmness of the cookie is just it's chef's kiss, really. There's no other way to talk about it. Johnny's the original goon.
Insomnia cookie's good, Merv. Like throw a little ice cream on top. It's gonna have ice cream involved.
Yeah,
cake and ice cream. But it could be a while. Like after what we saw from Ossenfort's front seven this year, like I have like sweets withdrawals and my body just starts sweating. Like, how long is this going to go? Because I don't trust this man. Like we didn't even talk about Trey Smith. It was announced he's not going to be franchise tagged. And all the Chicagoans are like, he's a Bear, done deal. Yeah. It's like, give me some of that. Give me a Trey Smith.
Mm-hmm. Don't let just Ryan Poles be the only person to call his agent. Try to make a deal, Monty. I mean, aggressively pursue that. If we trade Garrett, Johnny V gets an automatic Pizookie. That's.
I'll tell you what, Bo. You can get in on this if you want, but I'm gonna DoorDash a Pizookie to Johnny's house if Myles Garrett gets traded to the Arizona Cardinals.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what a Pizookie is.
That's a cookie skillet.
It's a pizza cookie.
You got it.
It's the portmanteau pizza cookie all in one. Have you ever had one before?
Oh yeah, we call it skillet cookies from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Pizookie. I need everybody to
us elite call it.
The West Coasters have
proper name.
Yeah, they've always had better vernacular. That's a fact.
And everybody Pizookie their way on over to the like button.
Do we real quick before we get out of here have the boys getting back together? First sign of the crew getting back together. How about this? Look at our sweet Marvin Harrison Jr. playing some defense on Michael Wilson.
I don't like this. I don't like this.
You don't like that?
This makes me nervous. I don't like this.
I think he'll be fine. He's quite athletic. This was via @SavvyG on Twitter, who I believe does some photography for Kyler Murray. It was Kyler Murray went to a local gym with Trey McBride and Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr., and they're getting their first action together this offseason, at least documented action.
Get that photo back up there. If people are ready to bail on, look at that man.
I know.
He's flying in the air.
What's that vert?
Michael Wilson, he's crouched there, is like what, 6'2.5", 6'3"? Yeah. Look at Marv just flying through that gymnasium.
He's about to swat it out of the gym.
Marv is such a freak. People who are like, oh, I'm underwhelmed by him. Okay, idiots. I'll buy all the stock. Look at that. That is my GOAT, Jacob. Love that man. That man is ready to take that's got 1,500 yards all over it right there.
And the guy who posted it, Savage on Twitter, said also, he said this in the comments, trying to guard Trey McBride was impossible. Shocking to nobody that Trey McBride can hoop too.
I bet, and he hoops like a football player for sure. That's always like a joke and like a kind of a meme of sorts, but Trey totally is just sticking his shoulder into
just
you,
barreling down the
putting
lane.
you under the basket. Yeah, there's that's a place you don't want to be.
Trey and I are very similar. We're just good at everything. We just do everything well. Bo can't even respond to that. Dana Ballnor, transition tag for Trey Smith, I believe, which means KC can match. Oh, he got the transition tag. They're not going to match it.
I don't know if they truly have the ability to match. Mac Daddy nitpicking our Marv, saying he lacks discipline, leaving his feet on defense. Yeah, Michael Wilson probably did blow by him there for an easy hoop, but the athleticism. Merv, Johnny, the kind of guy that does the floss after a trade goes through.
I try to do when we watch Blue with my kids, I try to do the floss. Johnny probably thinking jerk and the Dougie is still cool. If I knew how to do both, I'd do them right now, Girth.
Mm-hmm.
Dabbing up is the only one I've really kind of mastered. Can I do one of these?
I'm glad that you're really getting after it now in 2025, 10 years after it was popular.
I'm usually pretty up on the trends. Hello, fellow kids. I even got my backwards hat on. How do you do, fellow kids? Walk your way over to the like button. We got 600 people watching live. premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. We continue on Mañana, Thursday and Friday shows before jet setting to Indy. And I think right now, Bo, the plan is to do an early show next Monday morning.
That's right.
Eggs and eggs with your boys.
Little Jobo in the morning. There you go. It's the morning show that doesn't often happen, but once it does, it's up there. It's the best way to wake
special.
up. It is.
I'll have to find that sound remix I put together last time with the baby crying and the siren in the background.
Can't have my usual chocolate radio pancakes when we do this.
A little morning show, a little morning drive with Jobo.
Do your radio voice by default.
Jobo in the morning, everybody.
That's right.
I think that cold open has to be in that voice.
Bo will have to do it that day. No doubt about it. What do you guys want to see in terms of the coverage for the 2025 NFL Combine? Drop the comments down below. We're trying to set up interviews as we speak ahead of next week. But in the meantime, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. And again, everybody drop us a like. Helps exponentially to get the show in front of anybody and all people wanting to talk cards, ball, NFL draft, and more. Big thanks to our guy, Fran Duffy, Bo, dropping his knowledge. He'll be with us in Indy next week. And it's just a countdown to Cam Skattebo running around in his skivvies.
That's right. Can't wait for it. Can't wait to wrap up the week of shows. And we got we can unveil something that's going to hit this weekend. We'll tell you all about it tomorrow. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your Wednesday. It is Wednesday. We've got 2 more of these shows before that happens. So just a sobering reminder, it's only Wednesday, but enjoy the rest of it. We're over the hump and sliding into Thursday tomorrow on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.